Right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, my name is Dan W from Dan Who Reviews on YouTube, and it's Dan Who on Instagram. I just want to say a very special welcome to this episode of The Powers of X-Men.
Oh my God, guys! We got Dan W from Dan Who Reviews! What's up?
I'm all good, my friend. I'm all good. As I said, it's work is finished now, so I feel a little bit better. I've cracked open a bottle of Koppelberg, so I'm ready to go.
Wait, you cracked open a what?
A Koppelberg. It's a fruity cider. I'm trying to get sponsored by these guys. Trust me. It's not worked so far, seriously. But I've themed the whole show Legends and Liquor on them and everything. But they still ain't. They retweeted me once, but I still haven't had a free crate to my door. But Thursdays, because I stream on a Thursdays, it's my wind downy sort of days. We're on the way to the weekend now, so I'm in a good mood. Oh,
that's right, because you have a stream happening later tonight. For you, it's noon our time here in New York City. Dan, every time I do an episode past 5 o'clock, I always have wine next to me. To the point that there's some episodes that I'm listening back to them, I'm like, shit, man, he's drunk. Like the way, like my words just slur. I'm like, I don't know what happened. It's hysterical. So I'm really jealous now. I just have coffee.
Well, it is past 5 o'clock my end, so I'll do the drinking for us. Don't worry about it.
I was telling you this before we started recording. I'm obsessed with your channel.
Too kind.
No, I'm not being too kind. My husband and I, we love sitting down and just watching your reviews. That song you have in the beginning of every episode, that's iconic.
Yeah. I try now. I wanted to brand the channel. I do think people remember brands rather than people. Like if you say Pepsi or Coke, people know who they are. So I always wanted to have a brand. So Dan Who is the brand. And Dan, I completely understand Dan is such a generic name. You probably know multiple people called Dan. So that's why I had the whole Dan Who gimmick, because when you go, have you seen Dan's new review? People go, Dan Who? And you go, yes, exactly him. Do you know, so now if you ever hear Dan Who, hopefully you think of me. So.
No, that was the origin story of your name until this very moment. It's so fucking clever.
Yeah, it's from my music days. Before I did YouTube, I did music. So if you literally Googled Dan W, you can find my website. I've got music videos online. I ran a record label for a good couple of years. And that's how I got into video editing and all that. So when I sort of started fading away from the music, I still had so much creative energy. And I already had editing skills, and I was already passionate about this type of stuff. But I was like, why not make a channel? And that's what I did.
I love that. Well, now I'm understanding why we gravitated towards your channel so much. My husband works in music and I work in live entertainment. We were both very profoundly affected by the pandemic.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I just saw your review with Captain Marvel and Rescue.
Yes.
I have those figures on pre-order. They haven't shipped yet to me. I don't know how you got them early. Everyone gets figures early except for me. The only time I ever got a figure early was the 90s Jean from the Rocket Wave. And that's because I got her on eBay the second she hit and I paid an obscene amount. But
yeah.
I loved that review.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I do not have no secret sauce or anything like that. Honestly, I am just like you, trying to find ways to get things early. And luckily for me, occasionally some people will hit me up knowing what I want. I'm very vocal about what I want. If you listen to my live streams, I'm not shy about telling people what I want and need. And luckily people help me out. But the UK distribution is very weird because we don't have the Walgreens, the Targets, the Walmarts. We have and just think England itself, where I live, is probably it's smaller than most states in the US. So it's a very isolated thing. So when things land on our shores, they're very quick to get. And because we don't have the exclusives, there's no middleman. It's not like they've got to go to a Walgreens warehouse and then you got to wait for Walgreens to put them on the shelf. It's literally our stuff goes straight to our online retailers. And I've obviously built a relationship with some of these online retailers. And again, never get nothing free. I think recently Hasbro have started to pay attention, which is always delightful, but I've been doing YouTube content for years and never getting anything free. And I refuse to pay extra for stuff either. I'm not one of those guys who will pay extra for something. If I can get it for retail and I can get it early, I'll bite your hand off. But I won't be paying double or nothing, unless it's something I genuinely really want. But when it just comes to regular reviews, I won't review anything I don't want either, if that makes sense. I'm not one of those. That's why I'm always very positive, because like I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got bills to pay. I'm not just going to buy things for the sake of it. You know, I'm buying things that I want to add to my collection, and my YouTube channel is just a way for me to, because my missus doesn't care. You know, my friends don't care. So like my YouTube channel is just my outlet to just talk toys with anyone who's willing to listen. And luckily for me, a few people do. So, but yeah, no secret. If I had a secret, I'd tell you, but honestly, no secret. I just get lucky sometimes with the UK distribution.
Well, I'm just so happy that you don't have a Walgreens. I'm so jealous of that. I fucking hate going to Walgreens, like searching for Danny and the Cuckoos and Mystique these last few years. And I live in the city. So like there is a Walgreens in every block. And I was on my way to a gig. I'm an auctioneer, as a lot of people know. And I'm in like my full velvet suit. It's winter. And I see like 10 Walgreens as I get off the subway and walking to the venue. And I stop at every single one of them looking for Danny. And then of course you give them like the tracking codes and all that stuff. And they're like, oh, we have one. And it's like they never have one. So I don't know. Consider yourself lucky you don't have a Walgreens.
My missus shares your passion, because when I went to Florida a few years ago, I was like, that was when I was like deep into collecting, and I just think I'd never been to like the Walgreens and the Targets to actually hunt toys. I live vicariously through my American friends, because you can't hunt in the UK. Our UK stores do not sell Legends. It's all online. So we don't really get that shopping experience. So when I went to America, we went to to Disneyland essentially in Florida. So we were
from Florida.
It was literally, I can't even remember the hotel or the road or anything, but on the road were like 10 Walgreens. Yeah. And I remember getting on the coach, like being from the coach to the hotel, just like taking a note of every single one, and then like going, okay, we're going. And I dragged my girlfriend into every single Walgreens, and she shares your passion. She hates Walgreens now because of me. And all I could find was like the old Rhino Build-A-Figure wave, and it was there like White Tiger and figures that I didn't need or want, but I still brought them because I was so excited to see things actually on the shelf.
Mine was, I saw Magic all the time. I went to LA for a gig, and it was a really big, like high profile celebrity gig. And I was with my client in the car, and we passed a Walgreens, and I was like, And at the time I hadn't gotten like my third Danny or something like that. And I told this to Ryan Ting when we had him on the podcast. I was like, to my client, who is like a pretty big deal. I was like, do you mind just like pulling aside so I can go to Walgreens? I forgot toothpaste. And they look at me, they're like, no, your hotel will have toothpaste. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have very specific toothpaste. And literally I just bolted to the toy section, and it was just Magic. Oh, and yellow Daredevil. Yes. That figure was everywhere years ago. It was just like a peg warmer.
And the Ant-Man, the Grady Ant-Man.
My God. I just forgot about that until now.
He stood around. You could probably still get yourself Medusa as well. I still see them on pegs from people shopping. All the good ones, like you said, the Dannys, the Cuckoos, the Mystiques, even the Punisher back in the day as well. Like all of them, you won't find them now. I think I missed one of the very first ever Walgreens exclusive was the Agent Venom, one, the black version, and I never got that one. It still hurts me.
Did you, when you said that you don't really review or collect anything you don't want because you have a mortgage to pay, is that advice you give to other like people who are trying to start up a YouTube channel? Because one of the things I find with other people with podcasting and sort of running an Instagram community, they feel this need to report or, talk about things that they're not interested in. And I always tell them, no, just lean into what you like.
I always think it's the golden rule is you can't fake passion. Do you know, like you can't fake it. I think you see through it very quickly. So if you are putting your energy and trying to review or trying to build something around something you genuinely don't care too much about, I think the audience are going to notice that very quickly. And it's people gravitate towards other people's passion and love for things, like, especially if you have those in common. And consistency is key as well. Like people look at the numbers far too much. You know, like, as I said, I've said many times, I'm a small fish, but it doesn't mean I dip in quality or my production levels are lower. Like I have my own sort of standards, and it doesn't matter if 10 people are going to watch or 1,000 people are going to watch. I'm still going to put that same energy into a video and be consistent with it. Like I get the majority of I do get the occasional thing early because I'm in the UK, but the majority of just Marvel Legends, I get pretty late. So like, I'm just getting around to reviewing the Bring on the Bad Guys waves. The Americans have had reviewing for like over a month now. So like, I know my reviews ain't going to get tons of views, but it doesn't matter to me because that, as I said, that's my shared experience where I get to open the toys with you guys, talk about them, and the people that are watching, I know genuinely care. And I'd rather have 100 people that genuinely want to see my review to hear my thoughts and feelings than just be known as that guy that gets stuff first. Do you know, like, I don't want to be that guy.
No, I think that's really what you just said. You just nailed it right there. I think people look at the numbers way too much. And I always tell people, my friends are huge. I have two friends who are huge, like Instagram influencers. Like they do that full time. They got the 500,000, followers on Instagram, and they got all that branded content from like Chanel and stuff like that. And they've said this since day one, since they started their accounts. I don't care what that number is. People who really care about this stuff, they look at engagement and how people are engaging with your content. And it's exactly what you said. And that's how I feel, which is I would rather have like 1 to like 5 people who really care about what I have to say, other than being known for something else that just ranks up, views and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. As I said, it's the key. You can't fake passion, and like community is key. Like that was one thing that surprised me about having this YouTube channel. Like I made a YouTube channel. Like as I said, the full story is Glenn Webb passed away, and like he was one of my favorites. Like he's a UK guy. I wouldn't buy a Marvel Legends without watching Glenn Webb's review or Shardama's review. Like they were my two go-to guys. And then Glenn obviously suddenly passed away, like unexpectedly, and I think it was August 2016. And like I'm not really someone who gets affected by celebrity deaths or anything like that. And I know Glenn wasn't a celebrity, but he was someone that I watched virtually every day. Like I didn't know the guy. I spoke to him maybe a couple of times over Instagram or something, but I didn't know him. But that genuinely affected me. I was like, wow. I was like, damn, like that's a gap now. That's a void that I'm not going to get back. And it was really sad seeing Craig Warwick, obviously trying to talk and explain what happened. And it was just, I don't know, it just hit me hard. And that's when I realized, like, there's a void in the UK. Not that I'm ever going to fill the void that Glenn left, but Glenn inspired me to just be myself. And like, because obviously everyone has that sort of embarrassment. I guess it is an embarrassment in a way where you like, it's just a little secret. Like no one, like, so I play football, I did music and hip hop and all that. And like, this was my little secret I did on the side. And, but Glenn really inspired me to go, do you know what? Let's just put myself out there. And as I said, I already had the camera equipment. I already had the editing skills. And I wanted to fly that flag for the UK because all the Americans were talking about Tigers and Walgreens and how they get their legends. And I thought it would be fun to share that UK experience. And at that time, when I first started my channel, there wasn't really a UK legends guy. So again, I just wanted to be that I wave that UK flag for the collecting community. And community, as you just said, is the thing that surprised me the most from YouTube. Is like there's genuinely a community out there. It's not just people writing the odd comment or just keyboard warriors. There's genuinely passionate people that are out there that just want to share the same love for whatever it is. And there's so many different paths in collecting. There's no rules, and that's another reason I love it so much. Is that you will collect. And you will have certain rules about what you collect and why you collect it. And I have my own reasons and rules. And my display will be, we could have the exact same figures, but our displays would be different because we both have different rules. And it doesn't mean either one of us is wrong. It's just that we all can add our own little personal touch to this thing we love. It's so diversive. And yeah, as I said, the collecting community is something that surprised me. And it's probably the best thing that's came out of my YouTube is the friends and connections I've made from it. Like we're talking now because I made a YouTube channel, which is crazy.
It is. I love everything you just said. Like, I feel like you're just taking everything I have felt these last few months and just like articulated it in a far better way than I ever could. I hate using the word followers, for example, on Power of X-Men, because I've always said this is a community, and Power of X-Men was created as a reaction to the vitriolic, like CBR, like message boards or these toxic gatekeepers. And I have said the same exact thing of what you said, except with like comics. There's no wrong way to be a fan. And my biggest fear when I'm doing a podcast is to talk about a character in a negative way that's someone's favorite character, because then you just create that wall. You want to build that sense of community. I'm starting to see it more as an ecosystem as I've branched out into other mediums, but you want people to have a sense that you can come into this room and we have a different way of approaching this hobby and we can all lean into it. And you can be a fan of just like the MCU films, or you can be a crazy like Jean Grey fan like me who dissects every like panel. But I think what you have done has been phenomenal. And it's so fortuitous. I didn't know that Glenn Webb actually inspired you, because I was saying before we recorded, my husband and I came to you after Glenn Webb. And I don't know what the timeline is with your channel and everything, but when we discovered you, I was like, oh, I'm just so glad I have this channel too. I love so many other, reviewers and YouTubers, but you in particular, I just felt like a little bit more of a personal rapport with. I'm starting to understand now as you're talking, as we've finally met. But Glenn Webb, I loved Glenn Webb so much.
Oh, of course.
Devastated. What's his name? Craig?
Craig Warwick. Yeah, Craig Warwick's his friend.
When he posted that video, I remember sitting on the sofa and crying.
As I said, celebrity deaths, like, you can see your favorite actor or favorite musician pass away, and like, yeah, it's not never nice, but it's like it's just they're a bit distant. They're distant to you. But when you're watching someone's content every single day and you share all those same passions and stuff, and then it's just suddenly taken away, as I said, it hit me a little deeper than I expected it to. And as I said, he passed away in August, and then my channel was started. I started my channel, I think, in the December of that 2016 as well. And as I said, like, if Glenn was still about, I probably wouldn't have a YouTube channel at all, because as I said, I was living vicariously through him. But yeah, I just wanted to have that UK representation, because as you said, there's so many other collectors and YouTubers, and I'm a fan first and foremost, of course. Like, I watch all these other channels, but again, there's not a vocal for the UK, and that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to give the UK perspective on collecting, because it is different. It's very different.
Yeah, so let's dive into the collecting experience here for you guys in the UK. First, I want your opinion on the live stream yesterday. What did you think of the Hasbro live stream that happened?
Yeah, I was expecting. Once they said they had 2 live streams for July, we all knew that the Galactus was coming, so that was going to be one of them. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was probably going to be What If, and that's exactly what happened. So Galactus, the first live stream a week or so ago now, very happy to see that finally announced. I said if it wasn't Galactus, I'd eat my hat. So thankfully my hat is staying on my shelf. It's don't have to eat that. But yeah, it had to be Galactus. And they said it ages ago that Galactus was always meant to be the first HasLab, but then they switched for the army builder for the first one, just so they could rank those numbers in, and it makes sense from a business point of view. But yeah, both the Sentinel and Galactus look amazing. I can't wait to add them to the collection. And then What If, I genuinely didn't expect to see, like, obviously over the last couple of months when the rumors hit out, I knew they were coming, but before that, What If had just completely like gone out of my brain in regards to getting legends. Like, I wanted legends from WandaVision, I wanted legends from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I wanted legends from Loki, but I did not think to myself, I want legends from What If. So when those rumors started to come out, it sort of caught me off guard, going, do I want animated MCU figures? Like, I was like, I don't know. And now I've seen them, I'm like, okay, I think I want them. And that's even without seeing the show, but I'm a sucker for all things MCU. But as I said, I'll create my own rules. I'll be like, right, this corner of my display can be my MCU animated corner, and maybe I can stick in some Spider-Verse figures as well. I know they're not MCU, but again, it's What If. What if they were? They're in my collection.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, loving the What If stuff. I'm glad that we're getting Watcher. Like, I know that's an animated Watcher, but that character design can so easily fit into some sort of cosmic display. Yeah. So I'm very happy to finally be getting a Marvel Legends Watcher. I did pre-order the Select Watcher that was going for crazy money on the aftermarket for so long, and that's getting a re-release later this year. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's getting a re-release. There was rumors that like Diamond Select lost the molds or something, but that was just stupid internet rumors. And as soon as What If got announced, they were like, oh yeah, let's re-release the Watcher, which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think if you go to your go-to places, you should be able to get a pre-order for the Watcher. So I'll be able to compare the two and have 2 Watchers watching over my collection. So yeah, very happy with that. And I like that we get the extra deluxe figure with the Hydra Stomper to go along with Peggy, Captain Carter. Of course, UK repping. I'll be loving Peggy Carter as Captain Carter. So as I said, I'm looking forward to getting her displayed riding on the back of the Hydra Stomper there. So it's a nice little, I like it when you can get a wave and you ain't got to wait like another 6 months to sort of round out that sort of setup. Do you know, we just in that one wave, I've got a nice little setup of some of the What If figures, and it just makes me more curious about the actual show itself, which starts in a couple of weeks. So yeah, excited for it.
Yeah, and guys at home, we are going to be reviewing What If, and they're going to be minisodes, so check them out. Dan, I'm curious. So, which one do you think is the breakout star of the What If wave? Do you think it's Captain Carter?
Yeah, it has to be. They're putting her at the forefront of all the marketing as well. So I think the very first episode will be the Peggy Carter episode, where I assume she took the super serum, and then that's Steve Rogers in the sort of, so it looks like the Ironmonger, isn't it? Some sort of degree. So I'm sure Howard Stark will have something to do with that. So I think that'll be the first episode. They could throw a curveball, but the way that she's leading the marketing, I do think she's going to be the most exciting. She looks the best as well. Like, I know Nebula's went to the salon recently as well, and that's her what is episode. What if Nebula went to the salon? Like, but it still looks like a fun figure. But no, Peggy's the standout for me.
I was hoping they were going to have like a hair swap, and we can get more of a comics accurate Nebula, especially how we saw her in the Infinity War.
Yes.
But, Nebula kind of threw me for a curve there. But the one that really, for me, that I loved was T'Challa. And it just made me think of Chadwick Boseman and his passing, and what a gap that has sort of left in the MCU. Yeah,
as I said, that was another devastating piece of news in regards to people passing away, where you just take it for granted. You just take these people for granted, and then they're gone, and it just makes you reflect. But as I said, it is going to be Chadwick Boseman's voice as T'Challa in the What If, which is great. Of course, we've still got Black Panther 2, and I'm very curious to see what they do with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So how are they going to deal with that? That's not an easy task. It's definitely not something I envy, but trust in our Lord and Savior Kevin Feige, and everything should be fine.
Yeah, I think Kevin Feige mentioned that they weren't going to recast him, but I think for the sake of like the story and how they're going to wrap up T'Challa's, they're either going to do a digital double, or they'll recast him from, a body double perspective. I'm forgetting what he says. The news and everything over there, coming out of Disney, it's always like back and forth. But how do you like the Disney Plus shows? How are you liking them in general?
Yeah, do you know, what got me back into collecting was the MCU. Like, as I said, everyone has those dips. Yeah, so everyone has those dips in and out. And like, as I said, I was living on my own in a little flat, and I didn't have a lot of space. So like, I'd always like have things on my wish lists on eBay and stuff, but I wouldn't pull the trigger on anything. But then, as I said, the MCU got me itchy, and I started, I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, or the Winter Soldier, they both came out 2014. And that was when Legends started to really come back and kick into gear. Like, I did have some of the Epic Hero stuff. Do you remember like you said, the Rocket Raccoon Build-A-Figure wave, and the PoX Build-A-Figure wave, and the Terrax? Like, I had some of them. But I weren't displaying them or anything like that. It was just like I was picking them up when I seen them. But when the Legends started to kick back into gear, I think it was that Mandroid Build-A-Figure wave for the Winter Soldier. It's when they changed the packaging to what it is still today. And I managed to get hold of that whole wave. And so the MCU, like, as I said, I started buying that wave, and then I got the Guardians of the Galaxy wave, and then I started to build what I loved on screen. I started to have that represented in plastic on my shelf, and then the rest is history. You can see all the plastic people behind me, so
your shelf is next level. Obviously, I've seen it on your channel, but like seeing it here on the Power of X-Men Zoom, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm literally rearranging it a minute. I want to do something special we would have been streaming now because of obviously the pandemic last year. I started doing my live streams, and next week will be a year anniversary. Literally, I haven't missed a week. Yeah, so I want to do like a collection video or something. So I genuinely, since I moved in this house, I bought this house about 18 months ago. I've been constantly tweaking and changing. So I've not done an actual update or anything like that. So I am looking forward to, you can see an empty shelf down there that I'm currently rearranging, and there's just figures on the floor, and I've got loads of stuff up there. But I love that. I love, that's what I love about collecting as well. It's just that therapeutic time where I can just put a podcast on, or put a movie on, or whatever it is, but even put reviews on or other live streams, and just sit there rearranging the display. Like, that's my time. That's like, leave me alone. I'm chilling out. And you can just escape into your hobby.
That's what the pandemic brought a lot of pain, especially for me personally. But one of the things I am grateful for is that I was able to lean into my fandom. I've been collecting Legends nonstop since the X-Men Danger Room box set.
Wow.
Toy Biz did. Yeah, my husband and I were, when we first met, like our first date, we went to KB Toys here in Naples, Florida, and we picked up that box set. And we've never stopped. But when we moved to New York and we sort of started getting jobs and like life just kind of like took off, we just put things into like a closet. And like our Legends, it always depended on my mood. Like sometimes we would display it, other times we wouldn't. But when the pandemic happened and I was left with no work and nothing to do, we were fortunate enough to get a bigger place. We got a new apartment with a study. And when we looked at this room, we were like, what do we do with it? And originally we were conceiving like a bar or something like that. And we were like, no, let's make it a fucking like geek room.
Yes.
And we were able to like bring in, we're still like redoing everything, but like we have some Legends here. We got Legends there. We framed like posters we had. Like, dude, I had this Marvel Universe poster that I've wanted for such a long time.
Seen you posting it on your stories. Yeah.
I know. I can't stop posting about it. It's like literally sick because I've wanted it since I was an intern at Marvel, and now I have it, and I didn't even frame it until recently, and it was in like a poster tube. So
swinging back around to the Disney Plus shows, like we went 2 years without any MCU content. So that thing that I love so much, and so glad we got to Endgame before the pandemic hit, because that would have, imagine having a 2-year gap between Infinity War and Endgame. That would have been crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. So after, as I said, I was dying for some MCU content. Black Widow got delayed, and then Eternals got delayed, and like just like when they're coming out, and then finally WandaVision hit in January of this year, and so far I don't think they've missed. I think WandaVision was great, Falcon and Winter Soldier was great, Loki was great, and now just today they've announced that we're going to get Hawkeye in I think the 24th of November. So that's officially happening now. So
rank the Disney Plus shows for me. I asked this of so many people come on the podcast. WandaVision, Loki, and Falcon.
Does everyone else say it changes every day? Because that's what I'm going to say.
Favorite characters, it changes every day, but not for the Disney Plus shows. People are pretty set on them, but I'm curious why it changes. Rank them and then tell me why.
Okay,
why it changes.
So Falcon and Winter Soldier first, then WandaVision, then Loki for me, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think is not a popular opinion, but I'm a fan of those side characters. I like those B characters that never get the tension in the movies. Like I loved Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson throughout the Marvel films, but he's always that side character. He never got a highlight, and I never thought we'd get any long form content which is focused on that guy that would take up the mantle of Captain America. Like I never thought that would happen even 2 years ago, do you know? And now it's there, it happens, it existed, and I love that I love exploring those characters a little bit more. Even Bucky, who I loved from the comics, now from the MCU, I love what they've done with the Winter Soldier in the MCU. We got to learn a little bit more about him, and he's just so much more fleshed out as a character. And I love the street level. I know. Obviously, it's super serum and stuff like that, but still, we're not going to space. There's no magic powers or anything like that. You know, it's just a very grounded sort of series, and I like that the MCU has that sort of. I know it's crazy saying it, but you know, that sort of aspect of reality. It's like you can actually believe it can happen in the real world. I know it's all crazy, but those type of sort of grounded stories.
They tackled a very big issues with Falcon and Winter Soldier, for example, and why it worked so well on the street level, especially that scene when they stopped them, and the cops stopped them. Yes. And that is something that's so emblematic of what happens today. It tackles systemic racism and trauma with Bucky. You know, and
Isaiah Bradley as well. Like, who thought we'd see him in the MCU? Do you know, like, so. Yeah, as I said,
Ellie too. We got Avengers right there.
Yes, and so that was the one I was most anticipated for. So
Eli.
I think
is it Eli or Ellie? I
think Eli. I think
I
it's
say Eli in my
Eli.
head, and I may have gotten it wrong in a previous episode, but I always think Eli. Anyways, continue.
But so I think that was the one I was most excited for. So I think I was always going to like that one the most. WandaVision, I was really, I hated that the episodes were so short. Do you know, like it killed me because we'd watch 25 minutes, get into it, and then you'd have to wait a week. And it was like, I think if they were a little bit more, if they had those as similar as Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they were glued together a little bit more, I would have felt a little bit more satisfied after episode. But I think it took like 4 episodes in. before we actually got a little bit of what's going on. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the ride. I did enjoy. I understood what was going on and everything like that. I wasn't one of those people that like, I'm lost. Like I knew exactly what was going on, so I was enjoying it. I just wish it was like we got a little bit more each time, because it killed me when it would come up saying "please stand by." I'd like no,
and her fucking eyes would show on screen. I hated Elizabeth Olsen's eyes the second I saw them.
I'm so glad that we got Vision's back in it. Like now, technically, he's back in the MCU. Like there's still so many questions from that show as well. Like we still need to see Monica Rambeau. What happens with her? Obviously, she's off now to go and meet Nick Fury, maybe in space. Who knows? And the Marvels are coming out later. As I said, the Vision. Did he get his memories back? I know he's the White Vision, but does he know what the previous Vision knows? Like, and they've changed the ending of that show on Disney Plus, so you can actually sort of see Vision hovering over Wanda's cabin. Like that was something they went back and changed or something.
Yeah. Well, is this supposed to be Vision? I read Doctor Strange.
Maybe it's something's lingering over
you see
her cabin.
The shadow going through. Yep.
Yeah. So it could be Vision, could be Doctor Strange. Who knows? But still, I like the curiosity. It makes us talk. It makes us engages conversation. But anyway, as I said, for that one I was hopeful because it was the return to the MCU after 2 years of nothing. We finally were back in. And then Loki as well surprised me. I wasn't that excited for Loki. I was like, how are they going to do a Loki season? And then the trailer turned me around. I was like, oh, okay, this looks interesting. And then the show was what I didn't expect what we got from the show at all. I didn't think they'd go so deep into multiverse with Loki. If anything, I thought the multiverse would be a very much a WandaVision type scenario. Right. So it's crazy that we're literally the doors opened with the multiverse through Loki. So that was unexpected, but great as well. And again, that's changed the game within the MCU now as well with the one who remains, or aka Kang. And
Mortis in the house.
Yes.
My mouth dropped. I thought when you're looking at a television show, and we had a guest called Mr. Scott Free on the podcast, he said it was going to be, his theory was that it would be another variant of Loki. And I agreed with him because you think these TV shows are self-contained. And I think Falcon the Winter Soldier and WandaVision were very self-contained in their narratives and what you get out of traditional television. But then, of course, Kevin Feige on the Black Widow carpet was like, now there's no longer the TV or the movies. It's all the
and that's
MCU.
what I love.
And I love that. And I think Loki is emblematic of that. I think Loki showed that they will take the story and it will affect everything else. Where WandaVision didn't. I agree, because I thought WandaVision was supposed to be the first chapter, and Kevin Feige said that in this multiverse saga. Maybe it is. Maybe we'll look back on it and we'll be like, oh yeah, Ralph Boner was actually Days of Future Past Quicksilver or whatever variant. But I'm glad that now these shows are going to start affecting everything.
Yeah, as I said, I thought the same as you. I think that's what the Marvel wanted you to think. They wanted you to think the He Who Remains would be Loki, because they're in the sort of warm-up trailers, they were showing you those King Loki scenes that eventually got cut entirely from the season. So I think they wanted you to think it was going to be another variant of Loki. So I like it when they catch us off guard like that, because we didn't expect. We knew Jonathan Majors was going to play Kang, but I didn't expect to see him or see a version of Kang in Loki. So and that's what I love so much about the MCU. I try and explain it to people all the time, is that what other thing in history of cinema is interconnected as intricately as the MCU? Do you know, nothing ever. Do you know, so, and it's like an episodic movie experience, which again is not something you see. So yeah, I love the MCU, and again, that's what pulled me back into my fandom for all things Marvel.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into who you are. Who is Dan Who? Who?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. When did you first start collecting figures?
So
was it Winter Soldier, or were you?
So in my adult sort of life, I've always admired and picked up the odd piece, but as I said, they were in boxes, or I wasn't displaying anything. I was just, and I wasn't a completionist or anything like that. So, but I have always loved action figures and stuff. Of course, I'm the oldest of 4 boys in a house. So I've got 3 little brothers. So obviously, growing up, tons of toys. So I'd always collected. I was always very much a completionist, even as a kid. You know, like when I'd get figures as a kid on the back of the box, it would tell you who's in this, in like who else is there. I'd be like telling my parents, like, okay, I need all of these. Like they're on the back of the box. That's what I need. And I was a completionist even then as a kid. And even as a kid, I was very serious with my scales. Like we had like Action Men in the UK, which are essentially G.I. Joe. So they're like the 12-inch dolls. So I had loads of them as a kid, but I refused to cross universes with my Kenner Aliens and my Kenner Jurassic Park figures. Do you know, like, I was like, no, when I'm playing, these are two separate worlds. So I was always collecting as a kid, but obviously you don't realize that's those type of habits. You don't realize that's what you're doing. You're just a kid buying toys. And then everybody, well, not everybody, but the majority of people do have those phases where life gets in the way, you get distracted and you get a little bit older and whatever. And then there's just something that really ignites that spark that you had as a kid. Because I would sit and watch as you are a big fan of as well, the X-Men animated series. Like I had never, honestly, my dad was a guy that would go to the pub, drink beer. Like he wasn't into any of this type of stuff at all. Like my dad would let me watch like Alien and Predator and Terminator and stuff like that. He'd sit me down and let me watch stuff like that. But he wasn't showing me like Michael Keaton, Batman or Superman. Like that wasn't something that he was interested in. So it's not like I was around comics or anything like that. My introduction to Marvel, full stop, before I even read a comic page or seen a comic panel, was those animated shows, both Spider-Man and X-Men. Loved them both.
Did they air simultaneously in the UK? I've never even thought about that.
Yeah, we had Fox Kids in the UK, so they would be on Fox Kids, and we also had a Saturday morning TV show. Like Saturday morning sort of shows don't really exist anymore because obviously there's just so much on TV and there's now just kids channels. But back in the day when we only had like 4 TV channels, there would be like Saturday morning cartoons, and it would be Rugrats on this show. Again, this is a deep cut, but only UK people in their 30s are going to remember this. But there was a show called Live and Kicking. Andy Peters, Zoe Balls presented it. Again, shout out my UK people. And they'd play Rugrats first in the morning, and then after Rugrats they'd get into the X-Men, and that was how you'd see the X-Men every Saturday morning. And they'd do it episodic as well. So like previously on X-Men, like you'd have to watch each Saturday morning. And then it wasn't until like we started to get Sky and stuff like that, you could have Fox Kids. And then they'd have days where they literally only play the X-Men, or they only play certain shows. And yeah, so I love stuff like that. Spider-Man, love Spider-Man as well. Like both of those shows I have rewatched since obviously being a kid. So I downloaded them. I was like sneaky on torrents trying to get them and stuff because DVDs are really hard to find. And but yeah, those two, like my introduction to the majority of characters that I now know were through those shows. Like the X-Men had so many cameos, the Spider-Man had so many cameos, and like it's like in my adult collecting, most of these figures, most of these characters, I'd be like, oh, it's not like I know them from this storyline. It's like, oh, I know them from this episode or this TV show. Do you know, like, so, without those Marvel cartoons, there's no way these shelves would be behind me. And I don't know how far you can tell on the Zoom call, but like one side is all X-Men animated, like all Jim Lee era X-Men, and the other side is all Spider-Man as well. And so it's like, they're my two fandoms, and then above that's all the MCU and everything else in between underneath. But yeah, those, and like the retro Spider-Man stuff on the wall.
I saw those on the.
Yeah, I keep telling the Marvel team, look, keep them coming out because I need to fill that whole wall. My OCD is killing me that I've got an odd number there and I've got that gap. But we are getting 4 more confirmed. We're getting the Venom with the Pulse Con. We're getting Sandman. We're getting Spider-Man 2099, and then Webman, I think it is, that weird Doctor Doom clone, that stupid clone of Spider-Man. But still, I'd say that's how much of a sucker I am for this retro card. You give me a character that I know nothing about and it's just a stupid joke on Spider-Man, put it on that retro card, I'm like, yeah, I'm buying two.
I feel the same way about the X-Men. You put them on the retro cards and I will buy as many of them. Spoilers for some listener questions that came in. A good chunk of people, when I solicited folks on the Instagram page, they were like, we need X Factor Gene on the retro card. That is one that I am dying to have.
In our review, I pulled these out. So I haven't got a display for them yet, but
let's see.
Obviously, I love the X-Men stuff just as much. So I've got them in like nice protective cases.
Yes.
So like these are ready to go up on the wall. Like, but I need, again, the completionist in me. I don't want to just put these three on the wall. I need Jean. I need Wolverine. I need Cyclops. I need Beast. I need them all in this card. I need the whole team.
I'm wondering if now, seeing you hold them, if they're doing the 90s animated show, and that we're going to get the Jean that we got in the Lovers 3-pack re-released on a retro card. I mean, if they did that, that's it. I'm going to buy like 1,800 of them because I love Jean. But they need to do Dark Phoenix as well on a retro card. Like,
talking of Dark Phoenix, I just love every opportunity I can to show this off. I know. You must have this somewhere, right?
Yeah, I have it. I bought 3 of them. I'm looking for her here. I think I have her in my closet, but yeah. And you know what? I was at the True down in Florida and I found one without the Phoenix emblem on her chest. Wow. And I was like, I don't want this. And I was like, motherfucker, I should have gotten that.
Yeah, still free head, still Jean, still Cyclops.
Still everything. And it was a retail. I was lucky enough that I found that. And now, of course, on the secondary market, it's going for like $400 and stuff like that.
Not that I ever want to sell it, of course, but that is my rainy day fund. If my engine packs up in my car on my way to work one day, in the back of my head, I'm like, don't worry, I've got that Phoenix and Cyclops 2-pack. I'm good. I can get my car sorted. But I don't want to. That's break for emergencies type of situation.
For emergency. Yeah, no. Well, when the pandemic first started and literally all my work left, I was like, well, let me start cleaning things out. And this is before we even decided to move. And by the way, everything worked out for me, thankfully. But I'm very type A. Like I'm all about where's my income coming from. I had a white Phoenix pop and I sold her on eBay for like $500. And wow. I'm like, now I'm like, damn, like everything worked out. It's fine. I would have rather have kept the white Phoenix and have that $500, which I probably spent at like McDonald's or something like that. You know, I've just gone on a diet. But is there still like a Legends from like the 90s animated or the Spider-Man, animated that you're just dying to have?
So as I said, I just showed off all the retro carded X-Men. So I want that whole Jim Lee crew. Like, my favorite X-Men character, I know this is something you guys are going to ask me anyway, but it's Hank McCoy. It's Beast.
Get off this podcast right now. Of all the characters that I have joked that I hate, it's Beast. Get out right now.
Yeah, so goodbye everyone. It's been fun.
What's wrong with you? What kind of person likes Beast?
Right, yeah. So as I said, like I've always gravitated towards the clever guy in a crew. Like Donatello is easily the best turtle as well. No point arguing with me. The guy only needs a stick to defend himself. It's simple as that. No 2 swords. Just give him a stick. That's all he needs. Beast for me was always that. He's got the brains and the brawns. Do you know, like? And I loved him in the animated show. And he's just someone that always stuck with me, like big furry blue Beast. And yeah, so like Beast is something I always wanted. So here's someone I want on the retro card. And yeah, always been my favorite X-Men character. I actually I've got a custom head for my X-Men. I think that Anthony Customs did. So it's very much like the animated Beast that you see on the show. Yeah, Beast, I'd love to see him on the animated card, but I don't think it will happen. They gave us the Grey Beast on that card, which doesn't make any sense.
And we don't need another Hank McCoy in the market to ruin everything.
Look, yeah, that guy goes for a pretty penny on the aftermarket too, so it's not that bad.
I know. I actually held him, and the running joke is that I hate Beast, but I think animated Beast is the best version of Beast.
Yeah, and that's my experience. As I said, I've obviously dipped my toe in comics growing up now, but as I said, I wasn't one of these guys who was reading them as a kid or anything like that. So everything I've learned as an adult. So for me, Beast is that animated series Beast. So of course, as I said, I've went back and read his origins and all of that, but I haven't read him in every storyline. So I just have a very tunnel vision view of Hank McCoy from that animated show. So I completely, as I said, I'm not arguing with anybody, but again, there's no rules. Everyone can like who they want to like. So
absolutely. No. And it's, I think Beast is one of those characters who translates really well into other mediums. I think in the comic books, everyone knows he's a bit of a D-bag. And I think the X-Office has leaned into that a little bit. And, my main grievance with Beast has always been at the end of AVX, where he kind of like scolds Cyclops for everything that happened. And Cyclops brought back the mutants, from the Extinction arc. And Beast didn't even give him the benefit of telling him that. So, I think Beast is an interesting character who's evolved. But again, he translates so well. Like animated Beast, when he when he was in prison, and that last scene in season 1 where Jubilee walks in and she goes, Beast, you're free. And like they hug. It's so cute.
Well, so when I think of Beast, I'm not thinking of those storylines and those things. I'm thinking of animated Beast. And like that figure I've got is the closest thing I've got to having that animated Beast in plastic representing on my shelf. And at the end of the day, that's what everything on the wall, everything we collect is about. It's about having those little pieces of the things that we love as a constant reminder around us. Nostalgia fuels it.
Dan, it's been a dream of mine for this podcast to have someone who was a big Beast fan come on and defend him. So there you go.
There you go.
One of my favorite YouTubers coming in and defending Beast. I was not expecting that today.
I know this is another stupid one, but talking about the retro card, I'd take him on any type of form. But loving the animated series so much, I want a morph. Like,
where is he?
Exactly. We only needed a head. All they needed to do was give us a head in that love triangle pack, or just pack him somewhere else. Like occasionally they did it with the Shadow King. They did it with Lilandra. Like just give us a head somewhere else and I'll put it on an extra jacketed Cyclops. Do you know what I mean? Like just give me that head. I just need that sort of animated, that episode 1 animated team roundup on my shelf.
And it's funny, when we spoke with Ryan Ting a couple of months ago, we asked him about every fan favorite character and what were the possibilities of them coming out.
Yeah.
And we did not ask about Morph. and now you think about it, like, oh, they released the Age of Apocalypse Morph. That would have been a great place to put him, or even Mystique. Well, Mystique came with Lilandra, so I'm happy we got Lilandra's head. But I feel the conversation recently has been about Morph. And Mondo, the meme Wolverine figure that's coming out, has a Morph head. So you think and I'm not trying to throw any shade towards Morph because I love Morph as well, but he's a pretty easy face sculpt to do.
Exactly. And as
it's
I said,
very easy.
The Marvel team are not idiots. They must know this. And they've just released a Sentinel, for God's sake. And Morph is synonymous with the Sentinel in regards to the animated show. And as I said, most people know of the Jim Lee designs because of that animated show. That's a whole new generation. Like that as well. I guess you'd have to be sort of a 90s baby, even though I'm late 80s, but anyone in the late 80s or 90s is going to sort of gravitate towards the Jim Lee costumes. But yeah, Morph is just one of those characters that we need on our display. And again, he wouldn't even be the center of the display. I just need him on like the 3rd row, just so he's there, you know? Just so I know he's there, just so he's there. But he's just those. I like, as I said, that completionist in me is like, I need to complete that team. And I like having that representation of every character. Like when I first started collecting, obviously we all know this game can get expensive. I was thinking to myself, okay, I just need one version or my favorite version of each character. So my mind's eye version of each character on the shelf. And then obviously you start exploring and learning about new characters and all of that. And those rules start adapting and changing where I go, okay, I have one version of every outfit of this character. It's crazy. But that Jim Lee era and that animated show, I just want everything represented on plastic. Even that guy in the intro. Do you know the intro where the good guys and the bad guys are running together, and there's just that random guy that isn't actually a Marvel character? It's just like some random guy in the bad guys lineup. You can literally name everyone: Avalanche, Magneto, Sabretooth, and then like 2 from the back. I think there's just some random green outfit guy. That's a nobody. That's not even a character. That's not even a character. But give me no names, no name X-Men bad guy from the intro. I'd have it.
I'm hoping with the Patrick Brown art that we're seeing being released on the Disney store and sort of the merch that's rolling out, that they have an X-Men animated revival coming very soon. We've spoken with the Leewalds, who were the series creators for the X-Men animated. We've spoken with Larry Houston, who was the X-Men director. It doesn't look like they've been asked officially.
And they want to, don't they? They want to. They're right in the bin.
Do it. They are so good. And Larry Houston, you sit down. Larry Houston used to work at the Marvel Animation Studios, when there was a house. He knows everything. He was like friends with Stan Lee, all that stuff. Like, I just want the X-Men animated series to come back. I think they're going to tie it into when the X-Men eventually come into the MCU.
I do think if the What If series is pretty popular, and I always say this to people, a lot of people are very decisive in regards to, I only like comic or I only like MCU. And for some reason, people feel like there's a divide, and there's not. You can love both, And I think if when the MCU does something right, it sort of pushes it in the forefront of pop culture. That's like, if it weren't for the MCU, we wouldn't be getting as many comic book Marvel Legends that we're getting right now. It's as simple as that.
Agree.
So like, you sort of have to appreciate that. So I think what if an animated Marvel Studios project does well, that will only have a nice ripple effect for more animated projects, not just MCU, just in general, especially with a platform like Disney Plus. So I think if an animated show like What If can be successful, they may start paying a little bit more attention to animated projects.
It's a really like tough pill to swallow when you're such a diehard fan, but when you remove your fan hat and you start thinking of Marvel as an IP business, that's exactly what you just said. Like they have to look at things that are doing well within the market. And think about it. Like we have been talking as a, pulp cultural like perspective, as a community, we have been talking about Mephisto and Kang. And we're not talking about like just diehard fans. We're talking about like my fucking like Dio's like ex-girlfriend is DMing me on like Instagram saying, "Did you see Kang?" She never read a comic book. You know what I mean? My little brother, who was a big fan just because of me by proxy, now knows everything that's going on with Kang and like a brief history because it's trending, because people are talking about it. And I'm just like, who were the Avengers? People forget this. Who were the Avengers before the movies? They were literally C-list characters. Yep. Iron Man was a C-list character. And the big ones were Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Spider-Man. And Marvel has pushed it. They're steering the conversation with our pulp culture. It's even transcending comic books now.
Just think with Endgame. Who would have thought that like my nan would have seen Endgame and seen Spider-Man riding on the back of Pegasus with Valkyrie, dragging the Infinity Gauntlet while Captain Marvel signing the sky. Do you know what I mean? Like you say that out loud like 10 years ago, they'd laugh at you, especially during the Tobey Maguire era of Spider-Man. You'd be like, just wait until 2019. There'd be Spider-Man will be riding on the back of Valkyrie holding the Infinity Gauntlet. They'd just go, what are you on about? And that's where we are today. It's crazy. And again, like the MCU, the movies have pushed it to the forefront of pop culture, which only has a positive knock-on effect for everything else that's touching that sort of Marvel umbrella, including toys and everything that we love. So whether you're a fan of the MCU or not, you have to appreciate the impact it's had, a positive impact it's had on everything else that we love as well.
Well, even taking it a step further, imagine if someone would have told you that a song about Agatha Harkness was going to be #1 on iTunes. As performed by Catherine Hahn. Agatha Harkness as performed by...
In the style of the Munsters as well.
Yeah, in the style of the Munsters. Like, it's just like, it's mind-blowing the way they have just like redone pop culture. And I think that's what's so beautiful right now about being a stan, is that anyone can like come into the Marvel familia and we can all have a conversation. But wait, I want to ask, because you have such a rich history with the animated shows, with coming back to, your passion with the Winter Soldier line. I'm curious, when you started your YouTube channel in December of 2016, how did sort of your passion pivot? Like when you're going from sort of a collector, a fan to having a platform, how did that sort of change your approach to your hobby?
It sort of opened my eyes, because obviously at first I was just picking stuff up and I wasn't on Marvelous News. I wasn't like following loads of people on Instagram. I was just a casual fan. So like obviously creating a channel, it made me do a little bit of more research into, and well, not research as such, just more exploring the fandom in regards to what else is out there. And like, 'cause at first I was like, do I want to collect? Like, I knew I was going to go all in. I wanted a nice Marvel display. Like, so in my head, I was like, okay, do I go all in with Marvel Legends or do I go all in with Marvel Select? So I was like, both of them are pretty good, but which is better? And like I was doing deep dives on forums. I was reading forum posts from like 10 years ago on people's opinions between the two. And I was just doing proper deep dives. And then I was fans of these YouTube channels first. Like, who doesn't know who Shardamus Prime is? Of course I'd watch every review he had as well. And like I definitely would, I stopped picking and choosing figures and I went for all waves, because I knew I wanted to make a platform and I knew I wanted to share that with people. And I thought, instead of like picking, I just thought I'd buy a whole wave. Instead of just picking and choosing, I'd buy the whole wave, get my hands on first, And then if I thought to myself, if I didn't like a figure, or if that character wasn't someone I wanted on my shelf, I'd just sell it on. It's not like you'd be at much of a loss. And it was nice for me because I'd have some content for the channel. But as you know, when it comes to Marvel Legends, they're just so good. Like every figure I was getting, I was like, do you know what? I was adapting my rules to be like, do you know what? I can have this character in my display. Do you know, like, and it was characters that I was literally going through in the wiki, like the sort of Marvel Wikipedia book. I've got a book underneath me here that literally is a bit ratty because I was using it so much. Just a Marvel encyclopedia.
God, look at that.
Yeah, like, so I was reading, because when I used to watch YouTube reviews for Marvel Legends, there used to be so many characters that the person who was doing the review would just take for granted that you knew exactly who they were. But I'm just a casual fan who, as I said, who my fandoms come from the animated series and reignited by the movies. I was like, well, I don't know who that guy is. Like, the figure, fine, it may be great, but who is this guy? So when I started my YouTube channel, I wanted to have a little bit different. So I started a segment called Who Is He or Who Is She, depending. And I'd do a little breakdown of the character, like I'd do a little deep dive. So in turn, I was doing research on all these characters and learning more about them myself, which would in turn make me love these characters even more. So I was like, if anything, I was digging myself a bigger hole, because I went from just being a casual fan, wanting to share this collecting with and just sort of explore who's out there, to sort of digging myself a trench and living in it, because I was like, this is too much fun. And yeah, like, I don't know if you've seen some of my early reviews, but those Who Is He segments, I lived on my own at that time as well, so I had more time to put into my content. It's a little bit more difficult now, but that's why I've sort of fell off from doing that. But I did enjoy doing those deep dives. But
I remember those deep dives that you did.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that people who come to these content channels, they're not necessarily the diehard fans. And I always have to remember that, because I will pick up a conversation about a certain character or talk about X books, and I don't necessarily remember that probably about 75% of people who come to Power of X-Men are newish listeners, readers who are just trying to discover the X-Men. So that was I love that you had your ear to the ground on that very early.
You've always got to be considerate as well to people, because there's definitely a section that, no matter what fandom there is in the world, there's always, unfortunately, a little negative, toxic section of that fandom. And the same with this, of sure. And as I said, I try and avoid the negativity. We're grown men that collect toys, for God's sake. Like, what are you talking about? Do you know, I go away. But there is always that negative sort of pile. And if you said I don't know who that character is, there's always a section that goes, haha, you don't know who that is. And it's like, well, shouldn't you want to teach me about that? Shouldn't that excite you? Shouldn't that ignite the flame that goes, I'm excited to share my passions with other people. So it doesn't make sense to me when people try and keep it close to the chest and be like, well, I know everything. They're like, well, shouldn't you want to share that knowledge?
I agree. I have so many friends who are just getting into the Marvel universe, and they're like, oh my God, Paul, did you see the ending of Loki? Kang. And it's like, just wait until you see him, pop up in Ant-Man or Young Avengers, like, and telling them about Immortus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why Power of X-Men was created, because like when the pandemic happened and I was extremely depressed, I wanted to lean into my fandom, and I was still fighting with people. And exactly what you just said, I'm a grown man in my 30s and I'm arguing with someone. Like, I don't want to argue, I just want to have a good time. And if I don't know something, that's something I always say on this podcast, I don't know everything. I am profoundly wrong about my facts sometimes. It is okay. Come in, we have a conversation. There's no wrong way to be a fan.
Of course, yeah. As I said, no shame. It's just what you love, and that's why I don't get when there's that section that are really negative towards people that don't know everything. And it's like, look, if you didn't have Wikipedia, you wouldn't know everything as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everyone has all the time to read every comic book. No one does. Do you know what I mean? Like,
my brain is like this big.
Yeah, but it's just the way it is. Everyone has their little pockets, and as I said, I'm just happy to, like, if there's someone like when like you said, you get friends and family come up to you and get excited. I could be like, well, I already knew that, you idiot. Do you know what I mean? But I don't. I'm like, oh, wow. Do you know what I mean? I lean into it a little bit. I'm happy, they're happy type thing. Where you could be like, well, actually, I already knew that. Do you know, like wiggling your glasses out. I'm like, come on now, just enjoy it.
You know what's so funny? I knew the Avengers were really big a couple years ago when my dad, who obviously bought me X-Men figures, comic books, everything growing up, knew I was a huge fan. He looks at me and goes, son, have you ever heard of the Avengers? I'm talking about Captain America. And I'm like, oh, Dad.
Yeah.
But again, it added a new level of dynamic, to my relationship with him, because I was like, Dad, you don't understand. And we were speaking in Spanish because somos cubano, but like to have that conversation with my dad about what Captain America's role was, not only in the Marvel universe, but with his relationship with the X-Men and stuff like that, and even Civil War and stuff like that. My dad's like, are you serious, son? Like, it's just so wonderful to have those relationships with family members specifically. But I have a question for you about
Go for it.
Do you have a holy grail of that you still are seeking out, whether it's Marvel Legends or anything else?
There's like, as I said, I'm a bit of a completionist, and like we live in that day and age where the internet, you can virtually get anything you want on the internet if you're willing to pay the price. And don't get me wrong, I have my limits, but I'm also fortunate enough where if there's something that I really want, I'll find a way to get it, whether it's selling something or whatever. Like, so at this point in time, I don't particularly have like that white whale that I'm trying to hunt down. I'm just enjoying all the new stuff that's coming out, and like consistently.
That Moby Dick reference.
Yeah. But I'm just consistently upgrading the collection. Like, I want the best versions of these characters I love on the shelf. So if they re-release a figure, but it's got that updated tech on it, 3D printing tech or something on, like, I want that version. I want the better version. I'm not, and again, yes, you could argue, oh, well, we should have got that one the first time around. It's just, that's just not how this toy business works. It's just, look, you don't have to buy it. Just, I want it. I want the best versions of all these characters. So instead of like trying to search out that holy grail and dropping a bomb on that, I'm sort of keeping my money to the side to spend on the waves that are yet to come. Do you know? Because I know we're in the golden age. I say it all the time, but we genuinely are in the golden age of collecting. Like, because the people that are now in charge of these companies making the toys are people your and mine age. Do you know what I mean? So just think that the people that share this same passion as us are now the people in charge of these bigger companies. It's why we're getting toy lines from, like, one of my other passions is the turtles, the cartoon turtles. Like, when I was growing up, that was the VHS tapes I had as a kid. Like, we didn't have Netflix back then as a kid, as you know. So you'd be sat down in front of the TV with the same couple of VHS tapes and you'd watch them over and over again. For me, it was the cartoon turtles. So like, I love that NECA are now, like, as I said, only the last couple of years, are now releasing cartoon accurate figures of the turtles that I wanted as a kid. Do you know, like, so that's just the type of golden age we live in now. Is that I'm in my 30s and now I'm getting the accurate versions that I imagined myself playing with as a kid. And I can have them all displayed. Like, this side of my room is all Marvel, but then the other side of the camera is like Power Rangers and Turtles and Jurassic Park, and I've even got Space Jam figures. The first Space Jam, of course. Not
I haven't seen the sequel yet.
Dude. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to ruin the vibe for me. But
let me ask you a very personal question here.
Go on.
Did you get Cat April? Did you pre-order Cat April?
Oh, I was there, fresh and refresh with everybody else. I was like, I want that. It's not like I wanted Cat April. I wanted the Channel 6 news team. Yes. You know, I wanted Irma and Vern. Where you had Vern, I guess, but now I can have Rat Vern with the Rat King, and now I can have the sort of cowardly Vern holding the camera. You know, like, I wanted that channel. They were the type of figures as a kid. I had all the turtle toys as a kid, as you know, but I didn't have the cartoon accurate ones. They never made the toon accurate versions. I think they did, but I never got them. So again, now in my 30s, Cat April looked
different in the animated show.
Yeah. Like, as I said, I'm not bothered about Cat April. I wanted that Channel 6 news team. I've not even investigated too much into that, but I'm all in for everything cartoon turtles. I've got everything so far, and that's not cheap either.
The Channel 6 pre-order Cat April, I missed it. I was like, I'll just order it later.
It did sort of come back and go. It was very frustrating. I was there from as I said, as a collector, being in this toy community, we're not idiots. We're experts now. We know what the score is. You got to have a couple of computers on. You got to have that your F5 at the ready. And I was there like everybody else, but the international ones wasn't going up. So I'm seeing all my US friends tweet and put on Instagram, "Oh, got it." and it was saying that England wasn't even a country. I'm like, are you kidding me? Check the map, check the globe. It's a country. Let me put it in my poster. Do you know? So it took ages to get out, but yeah, it is that relief. I literally pre-ordered something on the Matty Collector website before I got one of the Jurassic Park exclusives, and that was so easy. It was literally just went on casually, added a couple to my cart, checked out. I was like, it lured me into this false sense of confidence of like, oh yeah, the NECA stuff will be easy. They must have sorted it out last year, the pandemic, and they must have got it sorted. Nope, it was still a stress.
Well, I didn't even like attempt. I just thought like, oh, I can just order it later or something like that. And I'm because one of the things from my childhood that I never got, and I begged my parents for whatever reason, they said no. I don't know what bee was in their bonnet. Was the Channel 6 van with the green April figure. They said no. I wanted to be a reporter growing up. I used to report the news for my school when I was little, and I was heartbroken, devastated, and I should have jumped on that. But I have a couple more lightning questions for you, and then we're going to get into some listener questions that came.
Go for it.
But do you have anyone in the toy community who has sort of been your mentor as you've started, your channel and you've grown and you've risen?
I wouldn't say anyone's particularly a mentor, but I'm always, just like everybody, inspired by everyone else. Like I take the elements of that I like from other people and try and implement them in my own way. Like, as I said, imitation is the highest form of flattery, and it's no secret that my setup is like just a simple white screen with the Marvel Legends. And who does that? Shardamus Prime. Do you know, like, so it's no secret that, like, of course I'm inspired by people like him. But as I said, I just wanted to put my own twist on it. But I haven't got the same humor as Shardamus. I haven't got the same opinions and thoughts. And as I said, the collector's experience is different. So it may look similar, but the experience is completely different. With the live streams, it was always something I wanted to do, but in Parallel Universe really kicked that off within the sort of toy community. And I wanted, and as I said, like I was like, okay, it's doable, let's do it. And I always, as I said, I told him straight, I said, imitation, high form of flattery, come and be a guest, let's talk about it. And so I guess everyone, one of my favorite YouTubers is Robo from the Fuchs as well. Like everything he puts out, like he's replaced Saturday morning cartoons for me. Like on Saturday mornings now, the Fuchs weekly goes up, and I can sit and watch that, with my cup of tea in the morning instead. So yeah, like I guess I take. And again, it's only because I'm fans of these people that I admire these people. But I always am a fan first and foremost. But there's a couple.
Next question. Which is your favorite Legends?
Favorite legend. Do you know what? As I said, because if people always ask that question, if the house is on fire, who'd you run out with? As I said, for me, it's like, who just think if the house was on fire, I just have to grab a handful and run. But like, who would I grab? Like for me, it's all about nostalgia. Like the whole reason these are on my shelf is because they sort of open that door within my brain and release those chemicals of just good times. So I think at the moment it would just for the pure nostalgia of it, it would have to be like the retro carded Spider-Man, just because for me that represents so much of my childhood in a positive way, and also modern collecting as well, which is such a great figure, and just the retro card. And as I said, you can see my wall on the Zoom call. I love the retro stuff. I will take every Spider-Man character on that retro card, please. I will fill my house, this whole room. Replace the bricks with my house with retro Spider-Man cards.
Is there one figure you're just dying to see, or one character you're dying to see come out in Marvel Legends format that hasn't come out yet?
Sticking with the retro cards, I've said to Ryan and Dan many times, like, complete the teams. I need the whole. If you're going to give me a couple of these Sinister Six characters on this retro card, I need the whole Sinister Six on this retro card. If you're going to give me White Storm, Vogue, and Gambit on this retro card, then I need Tiger Stripe, Wolverine, and Cyclops and Jean Grey. Finish those teams. I know we have those figures. I know we've already got them before. But as I said, for me, those nostalgia, those retro cards just hit a different way, So I need those teams completed.
Okay. And we have some listener questions that are in, and I'm just going through them right now. We got a good healthy amount. I want to pick some of the fun ones here. Here's one about my favorite character ever, Jean Grey. One of our people in the Power of X-Men community says Jean should always have some power effects in her packaging.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yes. And they can change up what the power effect is as well, because the powers are reflected differently depending on what panel you're looking at, you know? So yeah, I'd take that. I'm trying to look and see if my Jean on my display's got any power effects on. She doesn't, but she's doing the hand, the hand that they give you. Yeah.
I think I have her. I don't know which power effect I put on her. I think it may be Psylocke's, but I've been kind of shocked that Jean has never come with some power effects.
Do you know the swirly ones, the small swirly ones that fit around the hands? I think that out of the Marvel Legends sort of catalog, I think they would work for Jean. But yeah, I'd have Jean with some power effects.
Yeah, hopefully when they do, dude, I have like 4 questions here about the X Factor. So hopefully if we ever get an X Factor Jean, they will just throw so many power effects with her. But I don't know, like I even with like the Marvel Select Days of Future Past, excuse me, Here Comes Tomorrow Phoenix, I use that Phoenix bird for her. I don't have it on display here because I'm still working on my shelves, but I'm particularly not heartbroken about Jean not coming with power effects. I acknowledge that's something a lot of people want. If they're going to give her power effects, I want them to be unique power effects. So not sort of some of the recycled ones we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I get that. And a lot of people sometimes complain about other generic things like, why doesn't the character come with a gun or something? It's like, look, if you're collecting figures, I'm sure you've got a spare couple of effects or gun pieces in your boxes you can display. And again, that's the whole fun of collecting. There are no rules. You can't, just because that figure doesn't come with a set of effects doesn't mean you can't then display her with someone else's. It's your rules. You create your own world.
What figure deserves a re-release with an updated mold?
Well, because I want to get bonus points with you, let's say the Phoenix.
Yes, right there.
Not only because it could do with a new updated female mold, which they are slowly getting better at now, but like this deserves its own retro card within itself. And because it's so hard to get as well at the minute and so many people still want it, I'm not one of these sort of hoardery collectors where I'm like, I've got it and you haven't. If you want it, I want you to have it as well. So like, This is one of those hard to get figures that I think is worthy of a re-release. So yeah, let's say Dark Phoenix.
Well, and what I love about the Dark Phoenix 2-pack, Ryan Ting came up with that idea.
Yes, his first one. It was his first wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you. We have a friend of the podcast called Art of Lucas who's designed shirts for us, and he doesn't have that. And before I knew how much she was on the secondary market, I was like, let me just see if I can send it to him as a gift, because you want other people to be excited and everything. And I was like, even if it's just like $50, like it's okay. Like I'll just send it to him as a gift, or maybe I can find her loose or something like that. Boyfriend. She is like so insanely expensive. I'm like, I wouldn't even buy that for myself if I saw that now.
Even the separate heads, because you can put the other heads on like the green Jean Grey and whatnot. And we still need a white version of Jean Grey that we haven't got in the sort of new Marvel Legends era.
I have the prototype White Phoenix. Jean.
Nice.
I think she's in the other room.
That is a nice piece.
We found her. My husband and I met talking about Jean Grey from the X-Men when it was AOL keyword Marvel, and it was about the Toy Biz figures. We went there. So when White Phoenix is my favorite version of Jean. I know it's because she's, viewed as dead, but she's in the White Hot Room. She's all powerful. And when they had announced that, I was so excited for it. But then obviously the things that were happening with the variant figures at the time, I'm still not clear with what happened, but I'm sure it was like a retailer thing. It never got produced. Prototype ended up on eBay, and we paid so much for it. It was probably comparable to 1 month's rent. And I live in New York City. It was a lot.
Still, that is that is such a unique, that's a holy grail piece within itself. One of a kind. I don't know you're the first person I know to even physically have it. So yeah, bravo. So it's a question to you. If that did get re-released or get made a new updated version of, would that take any love away from the prototype that you have?
Oh, not at all. I will say the only thing, when we finally got it, I think later that year, they said they were going to do the X-Men Wave 1 and Phoenix was in it. And I was like, oh man, I just paid this obscene amount for her. But I was like, no, this is White Phoenix. Because again, at the time, Jean was dead in the comic books. She was white. She was in the White Hot Room. I wanted my entire collection to sort of gravitate towards her there on the Phoenix bird. And she has. And We got that, and no, I was so happy with it. I'm still happy with it, and then I'm glad we got another Phoenix. And then we got Dark Phoenix. So the heads from the Dark Phoenix, I put one of them, sort of her more tamed hair.
Yes,
I put that on the White Phoenix body, and now I'm just like, I want other people to experience who White Phoenix is. Please release that for the general masses, and I'm dying for a White Phoenix variant. For anything anyone does when they do like a Jean Phoenix thing, I want a White Phoenix.
It's got to be a matter of time. Got to be a matter of time.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it, but no, man, like it doesn't. Again, it just you want to share your fandom with other people, and White Phoenix is such a great character. I want other fans to experience that. Okay, so here is someone you may know.
Okay, go on.
When is super producer Rich M getting a raise?
I don't know. We've got to hit the year mark. We've still got a probation. Like he should have read the fine print on the contract because he's still under probation at the minute. It's a long probation period, a little bit unusual, I admit. But I'll let him know when the time has come. I'll let him know. But shout out super producer Rich M. Displayed once.
We love Displayed Once here at Power of X-Men. He comes to our monthly book club. He has given me such great advice, especially I've tried to somewhat dip a toe into YouTube, and he's been a very guiding light. So thank you so much, Displayed Once. His serious question, though, is what's one Marvel Legends figure you regret not buying?
One Marvel I will regret not buying. It's awkward, though, because I've always... If there was something I didn't get at the time and I've changed my mind and I wanted to get it, I went back and got it. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. Good question, Rich. But he knows me better than everyone else. That like if there's something I really want, I'm gonna find a way to get it. So yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Okay. I regret not getting 5 Sentinels, I'll tell you that much. But,
my gosh, me too.
But I don't have the money for 5 Sentinels, so there's not much I could do about that. But that was, if I had the funds, that would have definitely been something I would have done.
The Sentinel has come up a lot in conversation, especially with Galactus, because we're slowly marching towards like the goal there. And I'm curious, maybe if you know this, and I've never asked the fellas at Hasbro, is the way they're reporting the Galactus coming in, is it unique users or is it per units? Because I've always thought that maybe the Sentinel was able to hit the goal faster was because it wasn't unique buyers, it was per units there. So when people obviously bought like
I believe that's how they're doing it. It's per unit, it's not per purchase. Okay. So if I buy 5, it would come up 5, not 1. So I do think it's per unit because just think they want it to fund, and I do think the Sentinel is going to fund. Of course, the Sentinel did, but I mean, I want the Galactus to, and I'm sure it will. But they're just taking their time. They haven't even released any of the tiers yet, which I think is a little bit unusual from a marketing standpoint. Like why haven't you done that yet? But we shall see.
We shall see. Okay, hang on. There's another set of questions here, and maybe this is probably the good listener question to end on because so many people said this coming in. Excalibur! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Another one. Ryan Ting had Excalibur in the background of the podcast, or excuse me, of the live stream. I mean, we know Excalibur is coming. It's been hinted at for a while.
Well, I can't say too much, but I've been playing my cards right with the Marvel team for a while now. You notice there wasn't a Dan Who question on their video yesterday. Maybe they're saving my channel for something else. Okay, good. Been flying that UK flag. I'm just saying.
Okay, you know what?
I didn't get any reveals with that Wolverine pack. Maybe that's because I went, do you know what? I'll wait.
Okay. I think that is a great way to end this section. Dan, you are one of my favorite YouTubers.
I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you.
So excited to have you. Do you have, I know you just hinted at something, but do you have any projects on the horizon that you can talk about?
Well, every Thursdays, 8 p.m. As I said, we're about to hit our year milestone. So hopefully we continue doing into the future. I do a live stream. And as I said, I've now launched my join button on my channel. So you can hit that join button, join the members club. And the great thing about my channel is if you join at the members club tier, you can be a part of the channel you're supporting. I literally have a show called Legends and Liquor, where it's just a casual hangout, talking toys with my channel members. And again, that's me sort of trying to give back to the people who genuinely want to support my channel. So yeah, Legends and Liquor every other Sunday, live streaming every Thursday, and then me reviewing anything that I fancy like reviewing, mainly Marvel Legends, but every now and then I sprinkle someone with a fandom in there. But yeah, just YouTube. It's Dan Who on Instagram. I try and tweet a little bit more as well these days. It's Dan Who Reviews, I think, on Twitter. But I'm not shy. But yeah, come and find me on Instagram or YouTube. That's where you'll find me most active.
And are your live streams going to continue every Thursday after you hit the year marker?
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to do a Friday, but the missus shut that down very quickly because she didn't want every Friday night me being distracted, which makes sense. So I've sort of found my home on a Thursday now. And yeah, I think on next week, I'm going to get my party hat on, do some party poppers and just have like a general chinwag with the audience next week, just as a celebration, just as a nice little achievement for ourselves. You know, like we did it, we committed to it. And as I said, one of the golden rules about YouTube is consistent. You got to be consistent with your content. You can't just, you know, like, as I said, like if I didn't upload anything in a few months and then came back, it would be hard to build that momentum again. So, yeah, I want to continue, and I don't see no reason why not to. It's not like they're not giving us much to talk about in this toy age. We're in the golden era, so yeah, long way to continue. It's been fun. And that's the main thing. I'm having fun.
All right. Well, we had fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you for the invite. As I said, I'm a fan. I've been watching. I've been casually watching because I get a lot of my content from YouTube, and I know you don't put everything on YouTube, but most of the stuff you have on YouTube I've been watching, and I was introduced to you guys from the Ryan Ting interview. That's when I first came, and then obviously Rich M has obviously went, oh, let me tell you about these guys, you know. So yeah, no, as I said, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
No worries. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm the Uncanny Dayspring signing off.